Have you ever wondered what really kicked off the chaos in Stranger Things? We all know about the Upside Down, the Demogorgons, and poor Will Byers getting snatched. But the real story, the one that set everything in motion, goes way, way back. It's a tale of two psychics, a secret government lab, and a moment that tore a hole between worlds. Stick around, because we're about to dive deep into the true origin of the Upside Down. And trust me, it's even darker than you think. Let's rewind the clock, not just to 1983 when Will vanished, but all the way back to the 1950s. This is where we meet a young boy named Henry Creel, living with his family in a picture-perfect house in Hawkins. Henry seemed like a normal kid, but he was anything but. Henry was born with extraordinary psychic abilities. He could perceive things others couldn't, manipulate objects with his mind, and even invade the thoughts and memories of his family members. He was a withdrawn and troubled child, seeing the hypocrisy and darkness lurking beneath the surface of his seemingly happy family and the world around him. He felt isolated, different, and deeply resentful of the ordinary people who couldn't understand him. His powers grew, and so did his darkness. He started small, tormenting animals, but his experiments quickly escalated. He began to terrorize his own family, projecting horrifying visions into their minds. His mother, sensing the evil growing within her son, planned to send him to a doctor, but Henry wouldn't let that happen. In a terrifying display of his power, he used his abilities to brutally murder his mother and sister, framing his father for the crimes. This horrific event left Henry in a coma and his father imprisoned for life. This was the moment a boy named Henry Creel died and a monster was born. So, what happens to a psychic child who just murdered his family? He doesn't just disappear. He attracts attention. Specifically, the attention of Dr. Martin Brenner. Brenner, a scientist obsessed with unlocking the potential of the human mind, found the comatose Henry. Recognizing the immense power Henry possessed, Brenner took him into his care at Hawkins National Laboratory. There, Henry Creel was given a new identity. He became patient number 1, the very first subject in Brenner's controversial and clandestine experiments. Brenner tried to control and study him, but one was far too powerful and cunning. As more children with psychic abilities were brought into the lab, one was fitted with a device called the soteria, which suppressed his powers and allowed Brenner to control him. He was forced to work as an orderly in the lab, watching over the next generation of psychic children, all while secretly plotting his escape. He was a prisoner, biding his time, looking for a weakness in Brenner's system. He was a predator hiding in plain sight, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike back. And that opportunity came in the form of a very special little girl. A girl with a shaved head and a tattoo on her arm that read 011. Yes, 11. One saw a reflection of himself in her, a powerful, isolated child being exploited by Brenner. He saw her potential not just as a test subject, but as a weapon he could use. Posing as a friendly orderly, he began to manipulate her. He gained her trust, teaching her to control her powers, telling her that Brenner was the real monster, and that the other children feared and mocked her. He preyed on her loneliness and her desire for a friend. He promised her freedom, a life outside the lab walls. He convinced her that he was her ally, her only true friend in that cold, sterile place. He played the long game, carefully planting seeds of rebellion in her mind. His ultimate goal wasn't just to help her. It was to use her. He needed her to remove the soteria chip that suppressed his own powers, so he could finally unleash his full strength and get his revenge. Blinded by his famed kindness and promises of freedom, 11 did exactly what one wanted. She used her powers to remove the soteria chip from his neck. The moment it was gone, the friendly orderly vanished, and the true monster, Patient One, was unleashed. He revealed his true identity as Henry Creel and his murderous past. Then, he offered 11 a choice: join him, and together they could reshape the world, purging it of the ordinary humans he despised. When 11 refused, horrified by his actions and his vision for the world, one went on a rampage. He single-handedly slaughtered every other child and most of the staff in the Hawkins Lab. It was a massacre. A final bloody showdown erupted between the two most powerful psychics, 1 versus 11. Pushed to her absolute limit and fueled by a memory of her mother's love, 11 tapped into a power she never knew she had. In an incredible burst of psychic energy, she didn't just defeat one, she completely overpowered him. She pinned him to the wall and, with a final agonizing scream, ripped open a portal to another dimension right behind him. He was burned and torn apart by raw energy as he was violently banished into this dark, unknown realm. 11 had won. She had saved herself and defeated the monster. But in doing so, she had unknowingly created an even bigger problem. She had just created the Upside Down's first and most powerful resident. Now, let's fast forward to 1983. 11 has escaped the lab and is living in hiding. Dr. Brenner, ever the relentless scientist, forces her back into the program. He wants to use her powerful remote viewing ability, what they call the Void, to spy on Soviet agents. During one of these sensory deprivation sessions, 11 goes deeper than ever before. And in that black, empty void, she makes contact with something. It's a creature from that other dimension, the same one she banished 2 years ago. It's a Demogorgon. We don't know if she was drawn to it or it was drawn to her, but in that moment of contact, something went terribly wrong. Her brief connection to the creature, a monster from a dimension she inadvertently helped shape, tore a stable rift between their worlds. It wasn't just a temporary portal like the one that took one, this was a gate. A permanent, bleeding wound between Hawkins and the Upside Down. The mother gate in the basement of Hawkins Lab was born. And through that gate, the Demogorgon she touched was able to crawl through. It was the first infiltration. The first time a monster from the Upside Down stepped foot in our world. And what was its first act? It found and captured a young boy riding his bike home late at night. A boy named Will Byers. So let's connect all the dots. The entire saga of Stranger Things, every monster, every disappearance, every battle for Hawkins, it all traces back to one single conflict. It wasn't a science experiment gone wrong in the traditional sense. It was a war between two psychics. It started with Henry Creel, or One, a boy whose darkness led him to murder and experimentation. His path collided with 11, a girl with equal power but a pure heart. Their climactic battle didn't just end with a victory for 11, it created a new reality. By banishing One, she gave the dark dimension a master, a being powerful enough to shape it to his will, creating the Upside Down as we know it, with him as its hive mind ruler Vecna. And then, years later, by touching one of that dimension's creatures, she opened the door for its horrors to spill into our world. The disappearance of Will Byers wasn't the beginning. It was the first major consequence of a war that had started years before he was even born. The entire story is a domino effect, starting with one disturbed boy and a girl powerful enough to stop him, but who, in the process, unleashed something so much worse. What an incredible and tragic origin story, right? It just shows how deep the lore of Stranger Things goes. It's not just about kids on bikes fighting monsters. It's a generational story about power, trauma, and the battle between good and evil. What's your favorite theory about the Upside Down or Vecna? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to read them. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content breaking down your favorite shows and movies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.